Mr. Clerk, please record.
There is a quorum present, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Do you have any items for the record?
Two items, Mr. President. Various bills read on final reading this morning have been presented to the governor. New resolution LR 459 by Senator today that will be laid over. That's all I have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Colleagues, we are going to continue on final reading, so please return to your seats. And while we do that, we will welcome some guests. Senator Coulterman would like to welcome 14 fourth grade students, 1 teacher, and 5 sponsors from Emmanuel Faith Lutheran in York. They are seated in the north balcony. Please rise and be welcomed by your Nebraska Legislature. And Senator Mosier would like to welcome 46 4th and 5th grade students from St. Bonaventure in Columbus. They are also seated in the north balcony. Please rise and be welcomed by your Nebraska Legislature. Senator Hilkeman, we are on final reading. Senator Hilkeman, we're on final reading. Please return to your seat. Colleagues, we will turn to the 1 o'clock agenda, and the first bill is LB 1024E, and the first vote is to dispense with the at-large reading. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Please record, Mr. Clerk.
34 A's, 7 A's to dispense with the at-large reading, Mr. President.
The at-large reading is dispensed with. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Greengross Local Bill 1024, introduced by Wayne 13, McKinney 11, Hunt 8, Blood 3, Vargas 7, a bill for enacted in economic development. Amend Section 81, 120107, reissue by statute Nebraska, Section 81, 1237, 1238, 1239, 1240, revised Act Cum Sup 2020, Section 84, 612, revised Act Sum 2021, adopt the Economic Recovery Act. Create divisions within the Department of Economic Development, refine and redefine terms, change provision related to the Middle Income Workforce Housing Investment Act, provide for grants as prescribed. State legislative intent for appropriations, transfer funds from the cash reserve fund, harmonize provisions, repeal original sections, and declare an emergency.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 1024E pass with the emergency clause attached? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Mr. Clerk, please record.
Voting aye, Senators Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Brent, Brewer, Z, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, DeBoer, Dorn, Erden, Flood, Friesen, Geist, Gregor, Hollern, Hanson, Hilgers, Hilkeman, Hunt, Jacobson, Colderman, Lathrop, Lindstrom, Linehan, Lowe, McAllister, McDonald, McKinney, Moorfeld, Moser, Merman, Benzingbrooks, Sanders, Slamas, Tinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, Senator Bostelman. Not voting, Senators Hughes, Aguilar, and Pauls. Vote is 45 ayes, 1 nay, 1 present, not voting, 2 excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 1024E passes with the emergency clause attached. We will now proceed to LB 1024AE.
Congressional Bill 1024A and 113, Bill for National Appropriation, appropriate funds carrying out the original of 1024 and 7 declaring emergency and occupied by President 1. Hereby appropriated $2 million in general fund fiscal to program 1 to carrying out the original of 1024 and 7 that second section 22. No expanded permanent emphasize pertaining from place main fund appropriate in this section, but that's only the private fiscal 2023. Is hereby appropriated in the general fund from the Department of Economic Development Program 611 carrying out the original legislation was 407 legislation second section 22. No expanded permanent service and pertains to be fund appropriate in this section. 10 legislature unexpended balance general fund this should be reappropriated 23, 24, 24, 25. Is hereby appropriated $1 million federal funds for the 2020 federal funds for the Department of Economic Development Program 611 carrying out the original of 1024 second section 22 says of the fund court of the state of Nebraska for the Federal Coronavirus State Recovery Act as amended, provided in section this still that's not exceed 200,000 fiscal year 1/2/23. Unexpended balance federal fund appropriate in this section should be appropriate in fiscal year 2023. Then the legislature, the unexpended balance federal state pays that should be reported 23, 24, 24, 25. Hereby appropriated $128,074,100 federal funds from the Department of 1024, appropriating the section funds by federal coronavirus capital project fund because of the American Rescue from 21 amended. Then legislative fund expend balance funds submitted the same way appropriate 23, 24, 24, 25. Hereby appropriated $3 million for federal fund because the part with the North program things like carrying that we left for 300 7 over second 22, 7 then the travel plan recreation program. Then legislative plans spent the same year approving 23, 24, 24, 25. Hereby by 50 of the economic development carrying out the provision until the 1024. 107 letter for sections as 22. The pretend legislative amendment of this section will be appropriated 23, 24, 24, 25. Section 7, since an emergency exists, this action will take effect and passed and approved according to law.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 1024AE pass with the emergency clause attached? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Albright, Arts, Blood, Bostar, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, DeBoer, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geist, Gregor, Halloran, Hanson, Hilgers, Hilkeman, Hunt, Jacobson, Colderman, Lathrop, Lindstrom, Linhan, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Moorfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brooks, Sanders, Slum, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, Senator Bostelman. Not voting, Senators Hughes, Lowe, Aguilar, and Pauls. Vote is 44 ayes, 1 nay, 2 present, not voting, 2 excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 1024AE passes with the emergency clause attached. Senator Gregor would like to welcome 41 5th and 6th grade students and 9 teachers from O'Neill Elementary who are also members of the Soundsational Singers who sang in the rotunda over the lunch hour. They are seated in the south balcony. Please rise and be welcomed by your Nebraska Legislature. And Senator Michaela Kavanaugh would like to welcome a few very special guests. We'll start with Della, Hattie, and Barrett, her children. Please rise. Oh, and they are with her saintly, patient father, also in the south balcony, and Senator Kavanaugh's husband, Nick. If you could all rise and be welcomed by your Nebraska Legislature. Colleagues, we will now return to finish the remainder of the non-consent final reading. The next bill is LB 1065, and the first vote is the vote to dispense with the at-large reading. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Mr. Clerk, please record.
39 ayes, 2 nays to dispense with the at-large reading, Mr. President.
The at-large reading is dispensed with. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Ingress letter bill 1065, introduced by Wayne 13, Jacob Jacobson 42, bill for inoculated community development laws, amendment section 812109, 2155, revised Keemsap 2820, section 812101, 02, 182147, revised Keemsap 2020, change and eliminate provision related to the declaration of substandard blighted areas and redevelopment plans, received and expedited review, harmonized provision, repeal the original sections.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 1065 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Mr. Clerk, please record.
Voting aye, Senators Albright, Arts, Blood, Boastar, Bostelman, Brandt, Burr, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, DeBoer, Dorn, Flood, Friesen, Geist, Greggard, Halloran, Hanson, Hilgers, Hilkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colderman, Lathrop, Lindstrom, Linhan, Lowe, McAllister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brooks, Sanders, Salama, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nays, Senator Erdman. Not voting, Senators Aguilar and Pauls. Vote is 46 ayes, 1 nay, 2 excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 1065 passes. We will now proceed to LB 1069E, and the first vote is the vote to dispense with the at-large reading. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Please record, Mr. Clerk.
38 ayes, 6 nays to dispense with the at-large reading.
The at-large reading is dispensed with. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Ingress Bill 1069, introduced by Williams 36, Vargas 7, a bill for inoculated in workforce housing, midsection 81, 1228, 81229, 81, 1230, 81, 1231, 1238, 81, 1239, 81, 1240, revised at Keemsap 2020, redefined terms, change provision relating to grant programs, investment funds, nonprofit development organizations, return credit transfer funds under the Rural Workforce Housing Investment Act, Middle Income Workforce Housing Investment Act, harmonized provisions, repeal the original sections, declare an emergency.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 1069E pass with the emergency clause attached? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Mr. Clerk, please record.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Arch, Blood, Boastar, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Day, DeBoer, Dorn, Flood, Friesen, Geist, Greggard, Hanson, Hilgers, Hilkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colderman, Lathrop, Lindstrom, Linehan, McAllister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brooks, Sanders, Slama, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, Senators Albright, Clements, Erdman, and Halloran. Not voting, Senators Lowe, Wayne, and Pauls. Vote is 42 ayes, 4 nays, 2 present not voting, 1 excused not voting, Mr. President.
LB 1069E passes with the emergency clause attached. We will now proceed to LB 1102, and the first vote is to dispense with the at-large reading. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Mr. Clerk, please record.
39 ayes, 5 nays to dispense with the at-large reading.
The at-large reading is dispensed with. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Congressional Bill 1102, introduced by Bosman 23, bill for enacting environmental protection amendment section 81, 1507, 1508, reissue by statute in Nebraska, adopt the Nebraska Environmental Response Act, change provision relating to enforcement of environmental protection provisions, and repeal the original sections.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 1102 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Mr. Clerk, please record.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arts, Blood, Bostar, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, DeBoer, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geist, Gregor, Halloran, Hanson, Hilgers, Hilkeman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Golderman, Lathrop, Lindstrom, Linan, Lowe, McAllister, McDonald, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brooks, Sanders, Lamas, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none. Not voting, Senators McKinney, Wayne, and Pauls. Vote is 46 ayes, no nays, 2 present, not voting, 1 excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 1102 passes. We'll now proceed to LB 1102A.
Congressional Bill 1102A, introduced by Bosman 23, bill for inoculating appropriation to appropriate funds to carry out the provision of Bill 1102, 107, legislative session 2022, being enacted by the people of the state of Nebraska, Selection 1, nearby for 300,000 Nebraska Environmental Responsive 22 with the Department of Environment and Energy Program 513, carry out the provision of Bill 1102, 107, legislative session 2022, and expend permanent separation teams for state employees who may fund and appropriate in this section.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 1102A pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, DeBoer, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geist, Gregor, Halloran, Hanson, Hilgers, Hilkeman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Golderman, Lathrop, Lindstrom, Linan, Lowe, McAllister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pensybrook, Sanders, Lamas, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none. Not voting, Senator Pauls. Voted 48 ayes, no nays, 1 excused, not voting.
LB 1102A passes. We'll now turn to the final reading consent calendar. First bill.
Congressional Bill 29, introduced by Wayne 13, Honey, Hanson, Matt 26, bill for inoculating holidays, amendment section 25, 22, 21, 301, reissue as Keeps Up 2020, G for related holidays, repeal original section, declare an emergency ban on by section 1. 25, 22, 21, by Keeps Up 2020, amending subdivided in the period and time within less of routine to the community, excluding the day of the act of fall out of the testing paper that begins to be commuted less than Saturday, Sunday, day, winter stuff, and immediately look right in this section, which mentioned the next day was also be open. All courts in there also be closed on Saturday, Sunday, days of the to the Supreme Court on these holidays. Every time those Supreme Court, their Monday, Monday, President say the third Monday years. Arbor Day, the last Friday, in April, Motorway, something that listener, this June 19th, there's something that there's something the first Monday, there's something that first come the second Monday, ballot, register, now, the second, fourth, and then the day after that, Thanksgiving. Christmas, something that's with laws and proclamations, something that is, not just falls on such Monday, following Monday shall be a holiday. Something the seating fund is something that they don't miss like all of it in this section except for Veterans Day, different days, some federal holiday schedule, federal holidays should be observed. Section 26301, you get some days, there's something the secretaries of something Monday, 7th, 7th, finally, it's April, and Memorial Day, the last Monday in May, something they do is June 19th. Independence Day, July 4th, Labor Day, first Monday, something then Indigenous Peoples, Columbus, the second Monday, there's a best, the federal recognized something, Thanksgiving, 4th, and then November, after Thanksgiving, December 25th. Such holiday falls on the Sunday following Monday by holidays, and just the section, the holidays, some holidays be observed. Any bank duty was some they were business, they were to extend within as of no business. Because on Saturday, so just there was some that in respect to because which may be foreign than basing no less than and maybe result from such a day. Because some they will be treating because some they for all business statement is something for the civic interest in the investing in the financial institution. Section 3, original section 25, 22, 21, the 6301, by keys that keeps up to turn are revealed. Section 4, since emergency exists, is actually take effect and passed and approved according to law.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 29E pass with the emergency clause attached? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, DeBoer, Dorner, Flood, Friesen, Geis, Gregor, Halloran, Hanson, Hilgers, Hilkeman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colderman, Lathrop, Lindstrom, Linhan, Lowe, McAllister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brooks, Sanders, Lamas, Tinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none. Not voting, Senator Pauls. Voted 48 ayes, no nays, one excuse, not voting.
LB 29E passes with the emergency clause attached. We'll now turn to LB 59.
Congress led by 59, was 248, by 313, the bill for act, led in the Nebraska Tourism Commission, Minutes 813720, provided to regarding promotion products, team provision, regarding wisdom, the provision, harmonized provision, repeal the provisions like being active, section 1, section 813727, the midday, distribute publication, or 7, that self-distribute promotional law on behalf of the commissions held upon a monthly basis. Submit to the commission all revenue received in sale of submitted to an invitation source against the Nebraska Tourism Promotional Cash Fund. Permitted into agreement directly with the retailer, sell promotional products, aids in the reporting requirements, aids in the Nebraska Tourism Promotional Cash Fund. Section 281, 3729, submitted to the hereby created, submitted by vendors in the southern Nebraska state treasurer if they credit the fund. Commission you carry out the burden of the vision promotional the Canada State Fund Investment Act. Section 381, 3730. Revised Act keeps some of the amendments the commission authorized make available to the product of state according to the commission with the retailer providing 84728. Any revenue stays from the Nebraska Tourism Promotion Cash Fund 813728. Section 4, original section 813728, 3729, 3730. Revised Act Cumes Up 2020 are repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 59 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arts, Blood, Bostar, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geis, Gregor, Halloran, Hanson, Hilgers, Hilkeman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Golderman, Lathrop, Lindstrom, Linhan, Lowe, McAllister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brooks, Sanders, Lamas, Tinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none. Not voting, Senators DeBoer and Pauls. Vote is 47 ayes, no nays, 2 excused, not voting.
LB 59 passes. We'll now proceed to LB 75.
Congress Bill 75, entered by Gregory Ford, Member 3813, the bill for Northland County Government, Section 23, 297, the discontinued township organization to with the township library repeal section. Be enacted by the people, section 123, 97, made a civil concerning the county, the county board of qualified assembly, the county clerk, and all rest of them, the made the county has been dead at time of the discontinuous, they have some, they put some, that some that paying all the conditions, some that the county can benefit taxable now, some we got some that expand upon something that we can no matter something that we have outstanding. Township organization is given by township that may as more advanced something that can something that current discontinued something that two consecutive weeks in the newspaper general circulation, the county township that no later executive following such hearings as something that discontinues township operation. Section 2, original section 23-299, reissued by statute Nebraska is repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 75 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arts, Blood, Postar, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geis, Gregor, Halloran, Hanson, Hilgers, Hilkeman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Golderman, Lathrop, Lindstrom, Linehan, Lowe, McAllister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brooks, Sanders, Lamas, Sinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none. Not voting Senators Wayne, DeBoer, and Pauls. Vote is 46 ayes, no nays, one present, not voting, two excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 75 passes. We will now proceed to LB 91, and the first vote is the vote to dispense with the at-large reading. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay.
Oops.
One second, everyone. We are having a little bit of a malfunction. Okay, please proceed. Please record, Mr. Clerk.
35 ayes, 4 nays to dispense with the at-large reading, Mr. President.
The at-large reading is dispensed with. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Congressional Bill 91, introduced by Brand 32, Wayne 13, a bill for Dr. Nebraska Seed Law Amendment Section 81, 2147, 214703, 214706, reuse of against Section 81, 2147, revised Act Cum Sub 2020, defined terms change for related to seed labeling, germination testing, living testing to harmonize provisions, repeal the original sections.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 91 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arts, Blood, Bostar, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geis, Gregor, Halloran, Hanson, Hilgers, Hilkeman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Golderman, Lathrop, Lindstrom, Linehan, Lowe, McAllister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brooks, Sanders, Lamas, Sinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none. Not voting Senators DeBoer and Pauls. Vote is 47 ayes, no nays, two excused, not voting.
LB 91 passes. We will now proceed to LB 691.
Congressional Bill 691, and Bill 30, Wayne 13, the bill for not claiming the address confidentiality, action section 1202, something to get on and provide enrollment, kidnapping, survivors, divine German repeal, section being acted by section 1. Section 42, 1202, revised, to find the person who gives it, sexual assault, kidnapping, Stalking weirdly accepting this there was some of the cap conferences in the state and local the public within those the victim sexual assault, kidnapping, stalking, agency with the office of secretary, the confidential person, sexual assault, kidnapping, stalking, secret stealing, the brother was something that against from the misleading address. Section 242, over 3, something that gets something that lists something engaging in possible, the person gets spouse. If a person gets his or her former spouse residing, if the victim is within the prison, if a person is there something with their such person been married or resided together at any time because of the dating relationship, he or she was for the dating relationship, something that continuing affinity. Address means something that live works against something that individual's application, we are living dating something that can with second relation, kidnapping, the same 13. Program participant, the person of outside program participant, 4, section 7, the same 2319. 31901, 320, 32001, 7386, talking same news, there's some application 2830. 842, listen to the says, that may have something that stated was something incapacitated person, the application followed on the same was station, the incapacitated person. On behalf of the application made revision sexual up there that we have hazard safety something that made something that the application is made safety secretary from the position of the secretary of state there's traffic signature of the applicant, the individual representatives from the submits the very purpose in which the application time the application filed with the secretary of state submit that follows something about the certification that may be established no procedure. Any person following the application violates some may made some incorrect information that causing misdemeanor, some the secretary, some they may some the trafficking system. And then person may be a program participant, such person may legal advice practice law. Section 5, original section 421202, issue by statute Nebraska 421203, 1204, 1209 Vice Act keeps up 2020 are repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 691 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arts, Blood, Bow, Star, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Nerdman, Flood, Friesen, Geis, Gregor, Halloran, Hanson, Hilgers, Hilkeman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Golderman, Lathrop, Lindstrom, Linehan, Lowe, McAllister, McDonald, McGinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brooks, Sanders, Slama, Stenner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none. Not voting, Senators DeBoer and Pauls. Votes 47 nays, no nays, 2 excused, not voting.
LB 691 passes. We'll now proceed to LB 697.
Gressler Bill 697, Coldman 24, Wayne 13, the bill for inoculating healthcare facility, Minnesota 701-403, to submit the quick of the Rural House, submit the harmonized provision bill section, the inactivated P section 1, section 1, submit the managers, submit the known as healthcare facility licensure act, submit so far, this will apply. Rural emergency, submit the section, the real submit, this is nurse practitioner, clinical nurse specialist, the the patient care advisor, rural hospitals look seven in the healthcare and license where the federal government is a rural emergency hospital. Rural emergency hospital following service by rural hospital that can access with per days and having 24 hours in such rural emergency hospital. Emergency departments submitted specified in the statement as Department of Services. Facilities be held as whatever license of Maryland, submitted critical access hospital days, the Federal Security Act, submitted 28 Federal Emergency Security Act. So there's the application we submit the fellows maintain that existing outpatient business submit rules and regulated and promulgated by the department, relevant something we accept. Such up may have units about the main skilled nurses of the right post opportunities and general care service. Real nurse some the open opportunity private amendment service of the general submit that may be named the real in fact. License real nurse I had county regarding the areas of our list of the real nurse submit so the licensure rural emergency hospital and the self-funded employee benefit plan apprehended by federal law, exempt by state laws to provide benefits, and this is policy contract covered performed by general hospital. Section 9, original section 71, 401, 403, revised Act Keems of 2020 are repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 697 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arts, Blood, Boastar, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geis, Gregor, Halloran, Ben Hanson, Hilders, Hilkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colderman, Lathrop, Lindstrom, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brick, Sanders, Lamas, Tinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none, not voting Senators DeBoer, Matt Hanson, and Pauls. Voted 46 ayes, no nays, 3 excused, not voting.
LB 697 passes. We'll now proceed to LB 697A.
Gross level 697A and a colon 124 bill for non-collected appropriation fund carrying out in the 697 22. Be not by be section 1, the second one, whereas up in the 91,000 of health and human service cash from 2223, 91,080 from the health and human service Department of Health and Human Service Program 30 carry out 697 27 22. The least member there and there some 15 fund for the 2050 fiscal 20 2003 23 24.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 697A pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arts, Blood, Boastar, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Friesen, Geis, Gregor, Halloran, Ben Hanson, Hilders, Helkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Golderman, Lathrop, Lindstrom, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Vansbrook, Sanders, Lamas, Tinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none, not voting Senators Flood, DeBoer, Matt Hanson, and Pauls. Vote is 45 ayes, no nays, 1 present, not voting, 3 excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 697A passes. We will now proceed to LB 705E, and the first vote is to dispense with the at-large reading. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Ayes, 6 nays to dispense with the at-large reading, Mr. President.
The at-large reading is dispensed with. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Gross Level 705, introduced by Women 36, Wayne 13, a bill for enacting the Barber Act, amending section 71201, 20802, student 19, basically limiting provision land booth rental practice, change provision of credit barber instructor, assistant barber instructor to harmonize provisions, repeal the original sections to our repeal section 71219, reissue by statute Nebraska, and to declare an emergency.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 705E pass with the emergency clause attached? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arts, Blood, Boastar, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geis, Gregor, Halloran, Ben Hanson, Hilders, Hilkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Golderman, Lathrop, Lindstrom, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brooks, Sanders, Lamas, Tinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none, not voting Senators DeBoer, Matt Hanson, and Pauls. Voted 46 ayes, no nays, 3 excused, not voting.
LB 705E passes with the emergency clause attached. We will now proceed to LB 742, and the first vote is to dispense with the at-large reading. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Please record, Mr. Clerk.
35 ayes, 4 nays to dispense with the at-large reading.
The at-large reading is dispensed with. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Ingress level for 742, entered by Urban 47, Brewer 43, a bill for enacting the Open Meetings Act, amend section 84, 1411, 1413, revised act, Q sub 2021, change provision related to minutes of electronic record to harmonize provisions and to repeal the original sections.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 742 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geist, Gregor, Halloran, Ben Hansen, Hilders, Helkeman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colderman, Lathrop, Linehan, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Merman, Pansing, Brooks, Sanders, Slamas, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none. Not voting, Senators Breezy, Lowe, Moser, DeBoer, Matt Hansen, Lindstrom, and Pauls. Vote is 42 ayes, no nays, 3 present, not voting for, excuse, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 742 passes. We will now turn to LB 779.
Gross level 779, entered by Gregor 40, Boston 23, Brewer 43, Wisher 27, Blood 3, Vargas 7, Wayne 13, Sanders 45. A bill for Nebraska National Guard, section 85505. Due to some 2020, receive 8505, sections 2021, to limited entitlement period relating to tuition assistance, harmonized provision to repeal original section. Be enacted by the people, section 1, 85508 has been named the United States Board of Youth Community College independent applicants have been entitled to credit of 100% resident tuition because of some that consider a baccalaureate degree, progressive with a graduate and professional degree, except that any member attends an investment not allowing a credit on the superior credit on high and such members some that some subject question as long as it maintained. So with the companies are decided according to the normal requirements of the institution is not exceeding 900,000 during a fiscal year. When determining whether the sort of credit something in the previous year to investigates and then of the efficient effective program managed by the Adjutant General. Section 2 is 85505. Then the tuition president advisor be available in 10,000 the credit bringers and the credit and non-accredited course services and the less than the Nebraska National Guard. Reimbursement is according to them 21601. Any member of the Nebraska National Guard to receive tuition is this Nebraska the condition of course and the according to 721601. Military departments of these sponsors from the protection 785 505 Sections are in the original section 50501. It says they are hereby repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 779 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye. Senator Aguilar, Albright, Arts, Blood, Boastar, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geis, Gregor, Halloran, Ben Hanson, Matt Hanson, Hilgers, Hilkeman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colderman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, McAllister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Berman, Pansy, Sanders, Lamas, Tenner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none. Not voting, Senators DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. Voted 46 ayes, no nays, 3 excused, not voting.
LB 779 passes. We will now proceed to LB 795.
Congress Bill 795, entered by Flood 19, Blood 3, Wayne 13, bill for national uniform period management institution fund access from the related news of modification of investment purpose and invest fund and to repeal the original section being enacted by the President 172 advisory 72 against the release, modify and hold on part of restricting the gift instrument and management of the investors and the presented in the institution. Court upon the application of the institution may modify restriction to some fund the modification of good for things. Just notify the Attorney General of the application. Attorney General may get an opportunity to be urged to extend practical modification be according to the only probable intention. Project submitted list on the law submitted kind of application that may be considered charitable purpose expressed and gift given an opportunity to be heard. The restriction can use something possible achieve wasteful within 6 days notification. The Attorney General may release and modify the restriction in whole or part if the institution fund is a total violation of $100,000. When 20 years of a loss on the fund was established, and the institution consistent with the charitable purpose of the gift instrument. Section 2, original section 58.615, reissue by statute Nebraska is repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 795 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arts, Blood, Boastar, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geis, Gregor, Halloran, Hanson, Hilgers, Hilkeman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colderman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, McAllister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Sanders, Lamas, Tinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none. Not voting, Senators DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. Voted 46 ayes, no nays, 3 excused, not voting.
LB 795 passes. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, next bill, LB 807. I do have a motion from Senator Lowe to bracket the bill until April 13th.
Senator Lowe, you recognize open on your motion.
Thank you, Speaker. This will just take 5 minutes, so if you want to get up, stretch your legs, and do anything else you need to do, I'm going to speak for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to withdraw this motion. So we're moving along quite well today, and I thank the Speaker for moving us along, but sitting for an hour can get a little tough. So I don't know what I'm going to say for 5 minutes, but I'm going to talk for 5 minutes, or I'll ask people questions. Yeah. Senator Wayne, would you yield to a question?
Senator Wayne, would you yield?
Yes.
Thank you, Senator Wayne. Your bill 1024 passed today. How do you feel about that?
It's a historic moment. I feel a lot of pressure. There's going to be a lot of scrutiny and a lot of eyes on us, and we're going to have to make sure we deliver, not just for our community, but for this body. This body has entrusted us to transform our community, and we got to step up and make sure we get it done.
Senator Wayne, I think you and Senator McKinney are doing a great job for your districts. And Senator Vargas, I think I can add you onto that too.
Notice McDonald was left out.
But, you know, this legislature, this year is coming to an end. And I hope all of our feelings can come back together again, where we can get around and shake hands and go out and have dinner together. Maybe we'll do that tonight, maybe not. But this has been an interesting one for sure. Senator Slama. I yield the rest of my time to Senator Slama.
Senator Slama, 745.
Oh, Senator Lowe, you are too kind, especially with the knowledge that I have a final presentation for a class coming up in just over an hour. So that is very kind of you. It's my insurance law final presentation that I'm currently writing on the floor because apparently leading a filibuster is not the best time to put together a final presentation for one's class. So with that, Senator Lowe, I will ask if you will yield to a question.
Senator Lowe, would you yield?
No.
I have a lot of feelings about that, Senator Lowe. Senator Lowe, will you yield for a question?
Yes, I will.
Given my upcoming deadline and class presentation, would you be willing to take over this brief break time?
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So this is just a break so we can all stretch our legs for those on TV. We've been sitting for an hour and it was after lunch, so we just thought we'd get up and stretch our legs a little. This is not a filibuster or anything like that. This is just a courtesy bracket. So I'll give everybody about a minute to get back to their seats. Senator Pansing Brooks, have you gone through all your names already?
Yes, I have.
Well, I was going to yield you some time to do that, so.
I'm done. Yeah, at least the senators.
Okay. Just the important people. The people that weren't important, you haven't gone through yet, right? Okay. Well, I think people are starting to mosey back. So I think I'll yield the rest of my time back to the chair, and I withdraw my motion.
The motion's withdrawn. Senator Colterman, for what purpose do you rise?
Point of personal privilege.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I normally wouldn't talk about this, but I put in a resolution yesterday, LR 450. And I had some help from Patty Pansing Brooks, Senator Brooks. She helped circulate this LR for me, primarily to all the female senators in the body. Betty Jean Colderman is my mother. She's 92 years old. Last Friday, she got an award. She's been a 70-year member of the Nebraska Federation of Women's Clubs. She remains very active in organizations, and she received this award from her peers as 2022 Federation of the Women's Club Club Woman of the Year. Now, my mom was a woman's libera before the term was coined. She is my role model and a great mother and a great grandmother, great-great-grandmother. Several years ago, I sat down with my mother and suggested she slow down, get out of a few of her organizations and responsibilities. Her response to me was, your opinion is duly noted, but that's not going to happen. She watches us every day and tells us when I voted wrong. So I'm pleased to be your son. Love you, Mom. Thank you for the personal privilege.
Thank you, Senator Colterman. Members, we're still on final readings. Please return to your seats. The next bill is LB 807. Mr. Clerk.
Congress led by 807, Introductory 32, Wayne 13, a bill for Knox Lake County government. The Section 235501 reaches a team of residents tax levy in Connecticut nonprofit historical association or society. Repeal the original section be enacted by the people, Section 1. 235501 reissued by statute Nebraska amendment to 351 the organization of significant nonprofit historicalism and the corporate laws tax number 310 $1,100 tax may be applied for $700 years for this. To have the management and the exhibits something there are some many such guys something that don't get any construction improvement of a municipal. Therefore, Lobbies to be allocated as rental properties, some day pizza be subject to section 34, 23, some 37, initial. So unless the proposition misses the first amendment of the people general election, the same budget legal voters thereof. Proposed makes them to this ballot legal list request a board retraction of Iowa Historical Association. Such proposition against them their percent within the piece of levies to be carried up if definitely established. The property of the fact left in the section is because this support the year for. Like to such may discontinued by the this of unauthorized reforms and legal matter based on the total votes cast again less than the general election in the county. Nonprofit stores did not upon receiving money may request money by the county the county budget and improve request maintaining claim against the county the metro is a nonprofit society. Not later than 100 county is submitted to violence of the fund accounting and presentation made. Says up the list of the wisdom subject to the audit requirements of Word 304. Section 2, original section 23, 35501 reissued by statutes is repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 807 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senator Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Bloodbow, Star, Bostelman, Brad, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Urban, Flood, Friesen, Geis, Gregor, Ellerin, Hanson, Hilders, Hilkeman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colderman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brooks, Sanders, Lamas, Dinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none. Not voting, Senators DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. Votes 46 ayes, no nays, 3 excused, not voting.
LB 807 passes. We'll now proceed to LB 808, and the first vote is to dispense with the at-large reading. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Record, Mr. Clerk.
33 ayes, 4 nays to dispense with the at-large reading.
The at-large reading is dispensed with. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Congressional Bill 808, into Memo 446, Wayne 13, the bill for not leaving uniform controlled substance act, section 28416, revised act, Cume sub 2020, section 28405, as sub 2021, change related to the schedule of controlled substance, harmonized provisions, and repeal original section.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 808 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Albright, Arts, Blood, Bostar, Bostelman, Brandt, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Flood, Friesen, Geist, Gregory, Halloran, Hanson, Hilders, Hilkeman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brooks, Sanders, Lamas, Dinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, Senators Brewer and Erdman. Not voting, Senators Aguilar, DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. Senator Aguilar, voting yes. Voted 44 ayes, 2 nays, 3 excused, and not voting.
LB 808 passes. We'll now proceed to LB 824.
Congressional Bill 824, and amendment has with 13, the president of personal substance includes bathing as an activity of daily living. Defined terms on real or recycling being activity, section 1, section 716501, and the section indefinite found 6002. Written on fractional person, the same as there was maybe currently similar activities, similar activities. As we said, line of shopping and similar large meals and kind of something that can enable the person to remain safe and comfortable in such residence. personal service mean any unit provides officers and those that compensation with this and then local public health and 1626 healthcare facility, 4714 healthcare, something by the federal corporation, national community service. Licensed home care register, something line up in commerce, something personal service. Section 271, 66, they do something less contacts, something preventing some activities, basic therapy, something normally self-administered, basic including healthcare, something section 117. Home health care agency person that allows active therapeutic care to patient no methods. There's some activity. Registered nurse, her license. Practical nurse, vital signs, temperature, pulse, respiration, blood pressure. Section 3, original section 71, 6501, 6602, revised as Nebraska are repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 824 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arts, Blood, Bostar, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clemens, State, Orton, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geis, Krager, Halloran, Hanson, Hilgers, Hilcom, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Golderman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Moorfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brooks, Sanders, Lamas, Tenor, Vargas, Walls, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none. Not voting, Senators DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. Voted 46 ayes, no nays, 3 excused, not voting.
LB 824 passes. We'll now proceed to LB 829. First vote is to dispense with the at-large reading. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Please record, Mr. Clerk.
32 ayes, 6 nays, dispense with the at-large reading.
The at-large reading is dispensed with. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Congressional Law Bill 829, introduced by Board 10, Wisher 27, Blood 3, Bill for National Defense Against Animals, amend Section 1028, 1009, 1201, 28, 1019, revised statute, Nebraska penalty and sentencing provisions prescribed, change the deadline for filing a hearing application of deceased animals and repeal the original sections.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 829 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Arts, Blood, Bostar, Bostelman, Brandt, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Dade, Orn, Flood, Friesen, Geis, Krager, Hanson, Hilgers, Helkeman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Golderman, Lathrop, Linehan, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Moorfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy Brooks, Sanders, Lamas, Tinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, Senators Albright, Brewer, Clements, Erdman, and Halloran. Not voting, Senators Lowe, DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. Vote is 40 yeas, 5 nays, 1 present. Not voting, 3 excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 829 passes. We'll now proceed to LB 851.
Congressional Law Bill 851, and by 27 and Board 10, Moorville 46, Blood 3, a bill for non crimes and offenses of fine terms, and change enforcement, certain crimes against animals, harmonized provision, repeal the reason section, be enacted by the people, section 1, these, unless some name and handle with cares no because without effective preservation, the reason necessary for the animal's health. and the environment animal can non-captured wild creature and livestock animal. Divine section 25, something because I'm moving to figure towards be something when the birds called them upon any animal something that carries a car something with the food carrying and reason nice for animals help. I mean, killing is something minimum pain or suffering is something forcing localism in the state against it and presumably to all acting. Then the authority of the director of ag on the Commercial Dog and Cat Operators Inspection Act. Utilizing to causing a permanent injury, some that was a veterinary paralysis, and then you say kind of difference the parks and memorize something that don't make it a measures and this other person. There's some that are some of the university, some that we get some that performance in person reducing speed beats and then listen to man a person is serious injury and that of an animal. There's some that were about criminality and the function bodily or some that can put in the burgers and then see the book of veterinary practice. Section 220, $10 and then by some that lays a paid credit and the private care and the law enforcement officer. And there's reason to believe that the animal has been abandoned to really neglected with such violation. Whether can there's something like this citation there's something 24, 22, 29, and equipment devices something that may be directed or something that there's something like next section 20, 10, 12, the court may direct unless something that's not made in law something that's been over the office neglect. Section 3, original section 28, 1008, 1012, issued by statute Nebraska are repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 851 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Day, Dorn, Flood, Friesen, Geist, Gregor, Hanson, Hilgers, Helcom, Hughes, Hunt, Colderman, Lathrop, Linden, McColliston, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brooks, Sanders, Lama, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, Senators Albright, Boston, Clements, Urban, and Holloran. Not voting, Senators Jacobson, Lowe, DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. Vote is 439 ayes, 5 nays, 2 present, not voting, 3 excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 851 passes. We'll now proceed to LB 855.
Congressional Bill 855, introduced by 849, the bill for limited medical assistance, number 7911, harmonized coverage within the federal law, repeal the original section, being acted maybe second one. Section 811, the medical assistance, the federal social security, and the inpatient outreach, laboratory and x-ray services, and this, some little, some interesting requirements, some business, some interactions, some behavior, stream, center, rural health, services. In addition, something that's best goes to limited reserves, something that was following something that rehabilitation, medical equipment, medical transportation service, physical therapy, chiropractic service, no service, pediatric service, hospital services, something that listen to children administrative system, relative to administrative activities, including outreach services provided by school district education, something in there is something the medical assistant, and there's some of the state blood away with the case community-based. Security residents, by the illness, and there's the other commitments, and this is service, and the school district part of the individual IT component by 7 plan. And then periodic screening diet, and there's some other kids, some services. Section 2, original section 16, 911, issue by statute Nebraska is repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 855 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Gregor, Halloran, Hanson, Hilgers, Helcom, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colderman, Lathrop, Linden, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansing, Brooks, Sanders, Lama, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none. Not voting, Senators Wayne, DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. Senator Wayne, voting yes. Vote is 46 ayes, no nays, 3 excused, not voting.
LB 855 passes. We'll now proceed to LB 856.
Congressional Bill 856, amendment 849, Blood 3, a bill for the Aging Disability Resource Act, and this is 114, 117, 119, parting words, from the reserve and the harmonized provision, appeal the reason section. Being acted by the people, segment, there's the president, aging, there's some the purpose, meaning long term the care. These are the ages of the files, 2208. Center for Independent, Fund 23, 2018, the responsibility of older Americans up in the 2018. So being according to the less amazing, the representative board services or something that does of independent as possible in the setting here's our choice. Party orders, the Disability Resource Act. Representatives be represented regarding this individual retain personal autonomy. Person can find some things, single standards, the system, probably the same as a research and some, it's the University Medical Center. So I can do that. 61, 11, 17 is amended, and then there's something with learning organizations, specialized person, the congenital question, the education, the spread of age, and the collaboration, that's aging person, then congenital and disability, that'll be submit to the Department of Aging and Disability Research and Plan. That's by how organizations serving individuals be engaged in the process serving by the responding to Aging Disability Resource Center, providing the Academy of Aging and Disability Resource Center. Partner orders in the contract in the areas of the section 119, any agency or agency because by the Aging Disability Resource Center, services person partnering orders and then the partners and the funds available. Section 4, version section 6, 114, 117, 119, raised by statute Nebraska are repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 856 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Bostelman, Brad Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Day, Dorn, Flood, Friesen, Geis, Gregor, Ben Hanson, Matt Hanson, Hilgers, Elkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Golderman, Lathrop, Linehan, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morvell, Moser, Merman, Vandenbroek, Sanders, Slamas, Tenner, Vargas, Walls, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, Senators Clements, Erdman, Halloran. Not voting, Senators Albright, Lowe, Wayne, DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. Vote is 40 yeas, 3 nays, 3 present, not voting, 3 excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 856 passes. We will now proceed to LB 905.
Congressional Bill 905, in a well prevalence of the Kavanaugh, McKenzie, Waterland, 39, Bandy Burks, 28, Senator 45, Winship, runs out, Belfort, Nightland, Healthcare, Medicine, 2030, 201, 303, 207, Nicholas, the Bride for Beer, Nicholas, 7, the Pioneer and Arm, Provision, Pillar Section, being acted by the people of Nebraska, the ones of the Directors and Act 73003, issued by statute in Nebraska, amended when the section of postpartum birthing acts and then posting of the psychosis and then mother. Prenatal care, some depression scale, postpartum screening, back depression inventory, back as a questionnaire, the validated screening methods. Board may work at the credit hospitals if the practitioners registering this in the following process, some according with the formal opinion recommend may call this option gynecology. This and the prenatal and the finding developing prenatal health disorder. Best practice is by the president of the formal opinion recommendation of the gynecology. There's a complete question this and the recommendation because not the mother. Section 32, 2001, just gives amendment Medicine Surgery Practice Act. Section 938, 202. Amendment for purpose of medical list of the exam going this of the Credentialing Act. Parental postmortem psychosis. Prenatal care of this and this and the lifestyle care this and the brothers and the Elias and the fun skinny words and the preparedness and the disorders and the Midwest and the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology and inviting the complete the question of the prenatal and the developing that disorder. As I guess the baby is in the kind of things that go to the which mother president is mother church by them mental health disorder of the mother. Section 16, Universal Section 38, 203, issue by statute Nebraska 38, 2001, 2002, revised at Cume Sub 2020 are repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 905 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Arch, Blood, Star, Bostelman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geis, Gregor, Halloran, Ben Hanson, Matt Hanson, Hilgers, Hilcom, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Golderman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brooks, Sanders, Lamas, Dinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, none. Not voting, Senators Albright, Dorn, DeBoer, Lindstrom, Pauls. Vote is 44 ayes, no nays, 2 present, not voting, 3 excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 905 passes. We will now proceed to LB 908. The first vote is to dispense with the at-large reading. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Record, Mr. Clerk.
36 ayes, 4 nays to dispense with the at-large reading.
The at-large reading is dispensed with. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Resolution Bill 908, Engine McDonald 5, a bill for not letting the open meetings act, Miss 44-411, here, something there, in addition requiring virgin condom, there is segment by the people stand wrestling along. Whereas something that 44 is something that lists in the subsection be transmitted to members of the public. Subdivided 71 be the section in case about something that is 1409, something that we will listen in the general circulating body's jurisdiction. And if available on the city's papers, websites, or published by something that in the public way, something that can something that something that through the community, something that we said magic of the public body, and this something that makes something that's appropriate at the body of something that makes something that less than not in minutes, something that less something that the parliamentary business hours. Agency that surveys something that 24 hours before this, something that lists about something that can be stated in the public meeting. Following it, may hold a meeting, something that the somewhere, something that does not state entities, something that the parties and most of the Consumer Financing Act. If anybody public president of a charter, we're doing together something that was something that education ever seen in the county council, working according to the governor's management act. First, goes something that lives in the governor, something that lists authority, something that the Judicial Resource Commission by virtual conferencing reasonable, something that was something that the number linked to virtual conference. In addition, public right to participate in various something that lists at one time, something that lists in business, because something that lists about public comments or questions, and the list provided in the virtual conferencing was not used. At least one copy of all documents being considered means available in the physicals available in the virtual conference, may have links to electronic of the agenda, being considered the meeting in virtual of the Open Meetings Act. Except as otherwise provided in the subdivision, no more than half of the meetings, it is in the virtual conference calendar year, is organization, no more based on the federal bank of financing action. Virtual conferencing is something that electronic use on the east, preventing this stuff, I guess, in the Open Meetings Act. Secretary of something that maintain a list of something there, something that is got the meeting, something that we don't the magistrate, where it's taking matters, something that we know that the next Thursday, public body may allow a member of the public enter within the meeting is virtual conferencing. Notwithstanding substituting the public something the public is here, the public is the older. Reason was something that the section is something pertaining to something that is a briefing is something that information that the public is taking back from my public body, something that says something that the cover something in the Open Meetings Act. Reasonable is made to accommodate the public access and be immediately something that because something complied with and conduct such meetings something to 4413. In addition to the statute, there's something that made by virtue of the person that lists something that the number of the virtual meeting the public body. No action taken by them is the virtual meeting public body to for this section. Section 2, original section 84-1411, revised at 2021 is repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 908 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Archblood, Boster, Bostelman, Brand, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesengeist, Gregor, Halloran, Ben Hanson, Matt Hanson, Hilgers, Helkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colderman, Lathrop, Linehan, Hollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Sanders, Lamas, Tinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, and Wishart. Voting nay, Senator Albright. Not voting, Senators Lowe, DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. Voted 44 ayes, 1 nay, 1 present not voting, 3 excused not voting.
LB 908 passes.
Thank you.
We will now proceed to LB 971.
Gross Legislative Bill 971, introduced by McDonald, Wayne, bill for enact relating to public health welfare, amendment section 7173 to 7020456, by statute cumulative supplement 2020, change the name Brain Injury Trust, Brain Injury Insurance, and change related Brain Injury Trust Fund, and Brain Injury Trust Fund program, harmonized provisions, repeal the real section, be enacted by the people of the state of Nebraska, section 1, 713701, that is amended to read 713701, should be known as Brain Injury Assistant Act, amended to read 27 to 3002 for the purpose of Brain Injury Assistant Act. Brain injury is a definition found in 8160 in the Committee of Brain Injury Oversight Committee created 717303 for amended to read this prudent shall provide federal oversight. University of Nebraska Medical Center Management Brain Injury Research to develop criteria of the brain injury research program representing the treatment of brain injury. The prevention, the research, prevention, is recommended to read the Brain Injury Trust created. The program should be administered through contract. The University of Nebraska programs to be assisted in injury brain contracts, specialized brain injury, such as operate in statewide also areas defined from individual brain trust, working secure community developed based on individual brain support groups, information resources, several brain injury, educate person with brain injury, the person who is following active knowledge, A, introduce to priority before the ongoing support with the brain injury, coping with brain injury for sorts, capacity to state provided interest in individual brain support resources and enhancing commonly involved community for resource facilitation with brain injury and their family volunteering for individuals with brain injury, follow-up contact, provide information on brain injury for individuals with brain injury, establish brain injury registry act, methods and the activities of public aware and prevention methods, programs, research, brain injury, provide the quality standards among brain injury providers, collecting data and rapid individuals with brain and families, men in the state individual cost program, not more than 10% of the expenditure data collection, conduct should not burden hard data with brain injury. Nothing in section will require professional program caregiver and receive training is receiving a medical service industry in the brain injury section 737 is recommended to read 713706 10 of the legislature pro 500,000 for the University Healthcare Cash Fund app beginning fiscal year 2021 brain injury assistance program for the purpose of carrying out the brain injury assessment Assistance Act, Section 1, original Section 7137, 01, 02, 04, 05, and 06 revised statute cumulative supplement to 2020 are repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 971 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting ayes, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Bosman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Urban, Flood, Friesen, Geist, Gregor, Holloran, Hanson, Hilgers, Hilkeman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colterman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Moser, Merman, Pansy, Brooks, Sanders, Thomas, Dinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, Wishart. Voting no, none. Not voting, Senators Morfeld, DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. Vote is 45 ayes, no nays, 1 present not voting, 3 excused not voting, Mr. President.
LB 971 passes. Turning to LB 983.
Gross Legislative Bill 983, introduced by Mosier's bill for an act relating to political subdivision, amend sections 1311 and 131121 by statute redefined term change provision notice and designation for the industrial appeal. There is been enacted by the people of the state by section 16311 by issue amended read section 1111 section 1120 in the context otherwise the institution may track land or reserve location industry except the land may use for the agricultural purpose still diverted in the industry set forth sections of 13 to 3420 would mean enterprise prime fixed manufacture process sums of blend agriculture minerals protected infrastructure projects storing warehouse inspecting those including primary function to sell directly to public property enterprise functions with any of the form exist in the purpose of developing new products, process, and process, and only that are contiguous track contains 20 acres or more in parts with boundaries incorporated so they except much following clause from may file which are greater than portion of real estate situated in one county. Application request the county board and justice contiguous in industrial area. Section 112 is amended to read at the beginning of the 1980 every minute during the moment of appropriate kind of mid violation shall the previous zoning jurisdiction just in all just under when their views of the municipal governing bodies are over the justice the county board should give notice to hearing justice certifying may be covered notice in 90 days prior to the hearing in order to non located and publishing notice at circulation county which real estate is located no published county notice for brand continues industry defined section 11 corners of track and orders of 910 hearing county board should remove the designation Out of the county, here the funds, the industrial portion that are no set of footed interest be used for the industrial improvement, had no improvement in the industrial building within 7 years of the date in which it does not comply with the zoning ordinance in the city of village exercise, does not comply with such as zoning, nor language compliance with definition. Injury set forth in 11 such conduct board remove the designation from the tract lane and tract the portion tract reserved for the industrial prior to August 24, 2026, removed, and that is true. The wishes of the owners on the portion continues to be in compliance with the definition set forth in the level of certified copy shall be filed with the register of deeds in the county assessed to the county or counties in which the state is located. Section 3, original section 13, 11, 11, 13, 11, 21, reissue revised statute, Nebraska are repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 983 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Bosterman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geist, Gregor, Holler, Hanson, Hildress, Hilkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Coulterman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Moorfield, Mosier, Merman, Pansing, Brooks, Sanders, Slama, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, Wishart. Voting no, none. Not voting, Senators DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. Voters 46 ayes, no nays, 3 excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 983 passes. We'll now turn to LB 1007.
Gross Legislative Bill 1007, introduced by Merman, Kavanaugh, Day, Gregor, Moorfield, Pansy, Brooks, Bill for Necroling, Rural Health System Professional Incentive Act, amend Section 71, 56, 68, revised statutes of Nebraska required federal use of qualified for education. That's departments for repeal 0 section. Be enacted by the people of the state of Nebraska, Section 171, 56, 70 is amended to read. 71, 56, each loan or service shall agree with the department and the local entity. Such agreement should be exempt from the proper selection. 53, including minimum following terms of loan payment recipient if his prefers to dentist, nurse practitioner, practice proof such as health professional short as at least 3 years and except Medicaid consideration of the agreement with the state of Nebraska and local entities designated health shortage area funding payment of qualified education in that subsection in the amount of $30,000 for physician of $50,000 per reception for nurse practitioners, physical therapists, occupational health practitioners towards qualified emergency 3D of donors should make purchase. Direct the recipients if the loan paid discontinues the practice shortage completion 3 year require the receipt of pay state 150% of the total amount of funds for this rate of 8% of the simple interest in the default per state should reimburse local entities share fund does not be local repayment reps or any practice the obligation total the repayment under the loan is canceled in the event of loan repayments total loss disability at the beginning of 2020 and agreed 2031 2024 use federal fund the American Progressive for the purpose of repaying qualified education use any state local funds agreements use federal funds Nebraska Rescue Plan 2021 shall not require funding that extra any federal funding been during the time period so for 2016 section 2 there's a section 71 56 68 reissue revised statutes Nebraska is repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 1007 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Bosterman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Urban, Flood, Friesen, Geist, Gregor, Holler, Hanson, Hildress, Hilkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Coulterman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, Collister, McDonald, McKinney, Moorfield, Mosier, Merman, Pansing, Brooks, Sanders, Slama, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, Wishart. Voting no, none. Not voting, Senators DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. The vote is 46 ayes, no nays, 3 excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 1007 passes. We will now proceed to LB 1057. First vote is to dispense with the at-large reading. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Record, Mr. Clerk.
35 ayes, 4 nays, dispense with the at-large reading.
The at-large reading is dispensed with. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Gross Legislative Bill 1057, issued by Brewers Bill for Necroling Schools, amend sections 79, 848, revised issue statutes, amend section 79, 499, revised statute cumulative supplement 2020, change provisions relating to class 3 school district membership and under what conditions such school may continue to operate, harmonize provisions and repeals the original section.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 1057 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Bosman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Kavanaugh, Clemens, Day, Dorn, Urban, Flood, Freezing, Geist, Gregor, Holleran, Hanson, Hilders, Hilkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colterman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfield, Mosier, Merman, Pansing, Brooks, Sanders, Slamus, Jenner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, Wishart. Voting no, none. Not voting, Senators DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. 46 ayes, no nays, 3 excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 1057 passes. We will now proceed with LB 1082.
Gross Legislative Bill 1082, introduced by Gregor, bill for act relating to organ tissue donation, amend section 71 to 48, 44, and to section 37201, revised statute 20, provide powers and duties of game parks, permits require game parks to provide certain organ tissue, because certain hunting, fish, permits, game parks, permits transfer certain permitted information related organ tissue donors. Armed Forces Appeals 36 be in appeals to Nebraska section 137 I'm going to read 37 37 15 over section 2 of the Sac State Park District Protection Alternative shown on site as game law to begin 2024 residents at least 16 per annual hunting prevent annual fishing permit commission distribute BOSH organ tissue out for the Health and Human Services Canadian distributor revised uniform and atomical get for each person present who would not previously responsible for the section of made through the internet link electronic copy of BOSH provide the application for annual hunting provision from the following question you wish, including name of the donor registry, donor organs tissue, the time of death, your commission of response to electron to the presence of the 16-year indicates the applicant which to be an organ tissue, no section of the applicant wishing to be a donor authorized sections to be sections 44820 the person his or didn't and registered to telephone trust the registered and other master federal organ information on the list of person such donor status the commissioner electronic match federally or in procurement of Nebraska and first and last name birth gender city state zip code unique identification of person agreed to this section of the atomic use subsection 2 of this section consider the time application regardless of the information described in section 4 is transferred person obtained applicant response to the section for the donation process stigma Nebraska, the commissioner of the adopt promulgate rules necessary to calendar for this section. There's a minute to read section for the organ for Nebraska to meet to the Department of Motor Vehicles. Section 7 of the Game and Parks Commission and section 2 of the section 7 to maintain donor registry outside Nebraska and maintain from donor registry Nebraska listen to donor registry Nebraska immediately preceding the time that his or her that federal procurement organization received donor information. The department which no cost associated with maintaining the donor registry Nebraska to attend the legislature to donor registry and organ tissue notice of donors printed on the list of donor registry being the organ tissue number 3 no fundraising on the commercial use or distinct donor registry to facilitate donation process turn to the donor general stake information process federally organs placement section 3 section 71 48 22 revised issued statutes Nebraska sections 37 201 revised statute supplement 2021 are repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 1082 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Bosman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Day, Dorn, Urban, Flood, Freezing, Geist, Gregor, Holleran, Hanson, Hilders, Hilkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colterman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfield, Mosier, Merman, Pansing, Brooks, Sanders, Slamus, Jenner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, Wishart. Voting no, Senator Clements excused. Not voting, Senators DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. Vote is 45 ayes, 1 nay, 3 excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 1082 passes. We'll now turn to LB 1092.
Gross Legislative Bill 1092, introduced by Flood Wayne's bill for enacting the Nebraska State Colleges authorized reestablishment of risk loss trust, provide use risk loss for applicable Attorney General and State Claims Board being enacted by the state in Section 1 Board of Trustees State College may establish, maintain, administer, of risk loss for the purpose of paying loss expenses for State College from general professional liability and judgments, award, settlements, claims, dollars, and federal law, including a lot of 2 state contract claims as state, Islamic claim as state, tort claims that damage to loss, real property, errors, omissions, liability, such as provision linked defense settlement claim suits on no risk loss trust established pursuing Nebraska property limited guaranteed. Whenever claimant is just any state college, any of the officers employed to cover risk loss trust established between the section provisions of such defense settlements claims suit by father trust be applicable notwithstanding the inconsistent provisions of State Tort Claims Act. The Attorney General State Board claims shall cooperate with the state college administering settlement and provisions of any of such trust.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 1092 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Bosman, Brandt, Brewer, Kavanaugh, Clemens, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Freezing, Geist, Gregor, Holleran, Hanson, Hilders, Hilkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colterman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Mosier, Merman, Pansing, Brooks, Sanders, Slama, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, Wishart. Voting no, none. Not voting Senators Breezy, DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. Vote is 45 ayes, no nays, one present, not voting, three excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 1092 passes. Now turn to LB 1124.
Gross Legislative Bill 1124, introduced by Erdman, Clemens, Groningen, Belford, relating to decedents states, amend section 3024-125, reach revised statute, Nebraska, change personal property values threshold, collection of property by affidavit for small states, repeal the original section, be enacted by the people of the state of Nebraska, section 137, revised statute, amended to read 30 days after the death of the decedent, any person indebted to the decedent having possessed tangible property in conjunction with the board, obligation stock changes belonging to the decedent shall pay to deliver tangible property instrument and the obligation stock choose and claiming the success of the defendant based by affidavit based on such starting the value of all personal property decedent silver of less than exceeding 100,000 in 30 days, having the decedent shown in the silver authentic copy just to attach the affidavit claiming success relationship, but there's no relation based on personal property. The person claiming success under the affidavit swear that all statements true and material further acknowledge false statements for personal penalty per section 28.915 of appointment personal representative pending and granted jurisdiction claiming accession title to payment delivery of the property for the security register ownership of the books corporation to see upon the protection section 20 subsection the person transfer service car motor vehicle motor boat all the terrain vehicle check by French Department of Motor Vehicles after showing applicable section to advancement title. This section authorized new section of section 2 original section 3024-125 revised reissue revised statutes Nebraska is repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 1124 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Bostman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Clemens, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Freezing, Geist, Greggett, Holleran, Hanson, Hildress, Hilkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colterman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Mosier, Merman, Pansing, Brooks, Sanders, Slama, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, Wishart. Voting no, none. Not voting Senators John and Michaela Kavanaugh, Senator DeBoer, Senator Lindstrom, and Senator Pauls. Vote is 44 ayes, no nays, 2 present, not voting, 3 excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 1124 passes. We'll now proceed to LB 1137. First vote is to dispense with the at-large reading. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Please record, Mr. Clerk.
34 ayes, 5 nays, dispense with the at-large reading.
The at-large reading is dispensed with. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Gross Legislative Bill 1137, introduced by Hunt, Matt Hanson, Bill for enacting the Nebraska Fair Play to Play Act, amend sections 48, 36, 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, 06, 07, 08, 09, revised issue of statute Nebraska rename the act, change provisions relating to the name, image, or likeness, rights to student athletes, harmonize provisions, and repeals the original section.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 1137 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Blood, Bostar, Brandt, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Day, Dorn, Flood, Greggert, Hanson, Hildress, Hilkman, Hunt, Colterman, Lathrop, Linehan, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Mosier, Merman, Pansing, Brooks, Sanders, Slama, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, Wishart. Voting no, Senators Albright, Bostman, Brewer, Clements, Erdman, Geist, Holler, and Jacobson. Not voting, Senators Arch, Friesen, Hughes, Lowe, DeBoer, Lindstrom, Pauls. Vote is 34 ayes, 8 nays, 4 present, not voting, 3 excused, not voting.
LB 1137 passes. Now proceed to LB 1147E. First vote is to dispense with the at-large reading. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Record, Mr. Clerk.
34 ayes, 4 nays to dispense with the at-large reading.
The at-large reading is dispensed with. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Gross Legislative Bill 1147, introduced by Freeze and Bill for enacting the Uniform Standard Code for Manufactured Homes and Recreational Vehicles, amendment section 714603, reissue revised statutes of Nebraska, redefines terms, repeals the original section, and declares an emergency.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 1147E pass with the emergency clause attached. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Bossman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clemens, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geist, Gregor, Halloran, Hanson, Hilders, Hilkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colterman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Mosier, Merman, Pansing, Brooks, Sanders, Lamas, Dinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, Wishart. Voting no, none. Not voting, Senators DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. The vote is 46 ayes, no nays, 3 excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 1147E passes with the emergency clause attached. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, first a priority motion. Senator Hunt would move to return LB 1148 to committee.
Senator Hunt, you're recognized to open on your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll withdraw this in just a minute. I was chuckling with my neighbors around me on the vote on my bill, on the name, image, and likeness bill, because you guys don't even know what that does. You people who voted against it have really no clue what it does. You fools. That's the bill that says it can't be Planned Parenthood, it can't be Hooters. That's the morality police bill that says who can and can't be sponsoring these kids. So Albright, Brewer, all you usual suspects of the morality police, congratulations for voting against that bill. You all say it's never about the introducer, it's always about the merits of the bill. Well, with that vote, you proved yourself wrong with that. That bill was for you. Thank you, Mr. President. I'll withdraw my motion.
Motion's withdrawn. First vote will be the vote to dispense with the at-large reading. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Record, Mr. Clerk.
36 ayes, 3 nays, dispense with the at-large reading.
The at-large reading is dispensed with. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Gross Legislative Bill 1148, introduced by Freeze and Bill for enacting the Nebraska Motor Vehicle Licensing Board, amend section 60, 1403, 1413, 1414, 141702, and 1427, 28, and 35. Reissue revised statutes of Nebraska, provide for the employment of a hearing officer, harmonize provisions, and repeals the original sections.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is shall LB 1148 pass. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh,
Takes the
Clements,
bill,
Day,
sure,
Dorn,
please.
Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geist, Gregert, Holleran, Hanson, Hilders, Hilkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Coltman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Mosier, Merman, Pansing, Brooks, Sanders, Slama, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Williams, Wishart. Voting no, none. Not voting, Senators Bostar, Wayne, DeBoer, Lindstrom, and Pauls. Senator Bostar voting yes. Vote is 45 ayes, no nays, one present not voting, 3 excused not voting, Mr. President.
LB 1148 passes. Now turn to LB 1165. First vote is to dispense with the at-large reading. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Record, Mr. Clerk.
34 ayes, 4 nays, dispense with the at-large reading.
The at-large reading is dispensed with. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Gross Legislative Bill 1165, introduced by Sanders, bill for enacting the Nebraska Budget Act, amendment sections 13504 revised statute human subject 2020 and sections 13506 and 3508 revised statutes of 2021, change provisions relating to the proposed budget statement, content certification, adopted budget statement, and repeals the original sections.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 1165 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Bosman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Urban, Flood, Friesen, Geist, Gregert, Holleran, Hanson, Hilders, Hilkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colterman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Mosier, Merman, Pansing, Brooks, Sanders, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Williams, Wishart. Voting no, none. Not voting, Senators Wayne, DeBoer, Lindstrom, Pauls, and Slama. Vote is 44 ayes, no nays, one present not voting, 4 excused not voting, Mr. President.
LB 1165 passes. We'll now turn to LB 1178.
Gross Legislative Bill 1178, introduced by McCollister, bill for enacting County Records, amendment section 2332, one revised statute supplement 2020, providing withholding residential address judged from the public defines term repeated section be enacted by the state of Nebraska, section 1, 2023, 3111, revised statute 120, amended unless other registered use withhold public resident on law enforcement of the Nebraska National Guard Act pursuant to section 3, section 5182, county assessor his or rather pursuant to last applicant amended the parcel only in the residential address law enforcement should include an application his or law enforcement member of the National Guard shall report for the member in his manner provided with the county assessor judge include the application considered the judge. County assessor on notice provided or suited to police county assessor registration which hold the Nebraska National Guard judge about section 5 years the recipient completion officer amended application 5 years submission update. The person section note include the judge magistrate county located in the city court, any district court, the Court of Appeals, Nebraska Workers' Compensation Court, any type of juvenile court, the Supreme Court, and any federal court. Section 2, original section 233211, revised statutes, Humana Supplement 2020 is repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 1178 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have all those voted who wish to? Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Blood, Bostar, Bostman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clements, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geist, Gregert, Holleran, Hanson, Hilders, Hilkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colterman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Mosier, Merman, Pansing, Brooks, Sanders, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, Wishart. Voting no, none. Not voting, Senators Arch, DeBoer, Lindstrom, Pauls, and Slama. Vote is 44 ayes, no nays, one present not voting, 4 excused not voting, Mr. President.
LB 1178 passes. Senator Breezy would like to welcome 28 sixth grade students from Ravenna Middle School and High School in Ravenna. They are seated in the north balcony. Please rise and be recognized by your Nebraska Legislature. Doesn't appear there are high school students up there. Got that wrong. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Gross Legislative Bill 1184, introduced by Guys Bostar, bill for enacting law enforcement, Section 81, 2009, revision statute relating to the Director General and Defense State Patrol, provide for and repeal the revised section be enacted by the people of the state of Nebraska, Section 1, 81, 2009, revised statute stated amended to read the Attorney General members staff should defend all secretly against superintendent of state law enforcement, public safety, and subordinate of the Nebraska State Patrol arises from the patrol in this instance. Action mission officer, employee of the patrol, subject to the grand jury, prosecutor, and vote defendant, the Attorney General member, his or staff, and inclined into the virtue of the practice shown by the officer of patrol, reasonable attorney fee cost paid for 81, 820, the superintendent, unless less 38, legal consultation, Nebraska process, county attorney's preparation, legal, patrol, and all legal matters, including representative officer, employee patrols, omission to the record, grand jury prosecution, officer, patrol, sermon as grand jury prosecutor, no section reissue revised. Section 2, original section 81, 2009, reissue revised statutes of Nebraska is repealed.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 1184 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. If all those voted who wish to, please record, Mr. Clerk.
45 A's, no, excuse me, Senators Aguilar, voting yes, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Bosman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clemens, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geis, Gregor, Hollern, Hanson, Hilders, Hilkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colterman, Lathrop, Lenahan, Lowe, McCollister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Mosier, Merman, Pansing, Brooks, Sanders, Sinner, Vargas, Walls, Wayne, Williams, Wishart. Voting no, none, not voting, Senators DeBoer, Lindstrom, Pauls, and Slama. Vote is 45 A's, no nays, 4 excused, not voting, Mr. President.
LB 1184 passes. We'll now proceed to our next bill, LB 1204. First vote is to dispense with the at-large reading. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Please record, Mr. Clerk.
34 A's, 4 nays, dispense with the at-large reading.
The at-large reading is dispensed with. Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Gross Legislative Bill 1204, introduced by Breezy Wayne, bill for enacting Nebraska Liquor Control Act, amendment sections 53-101, 53-123, 12, 53-124, 12, 53-131, 53-132, 51-35, 44-18004, revised issues, reissue revised statutes, Nebraska change provision relating to application forms, delivery forms for licenses and warning signs, harmonized provisions and repeals of the original section.
All provisions of law relative to procedure having been complied with, the question is, shall LB 1204 pass? All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Please record, Mr. Clerk.
Voting aye, Senators Aguilar, Albright, Arch, Blood, Bostar, Bosman, Brandt, Brewer, Breezy, Kavanaugh, Clemens, Day, Dorn, Erdman, Flood, Friesen, Geis, Gregor, Hollern, Hanson, Hilders, Hilkman, Hughes, Hunt, Jacobson, Colterman, Lathrop, Linehan, Lowe, Collister, McDonald, McKinney, Morfeld, Mosier, Merman, Pansing, Brooks, Sanders, Stinner, Vargas, Walls, Williams, Wishart. Voting no, none, not voting, Senators Wayne, DeBoer, Lindstrom, Pauls, and Slama. Vote is 44 A's, no nays, 1 present not voting, 4 excused not voting, Mr. President.
LB 1204 passes. While the legislature is in session and capable of transacting business, I propose to sign and do hereby sign the following LBs. LB 1024E, 1024AE, 1065, 1069E, 1102, 1102A, 29E, 59, 75, 91, 691, 697, 697A, 705E, 742, 779, 795, 807, 808, 824, 829, 851, 855, 856, 905, 908, 971, 983, 1007, 1057, 1082, 1092, 1124, 1137, 1147E, 1148, 1165, 1178, 1184, and 1204. Turning to the next item on the afternoon's agenda. Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, confirmation reports. The first report, Health and Human Services Committee reports on 4 appointees to the Nebraska Rural Health Advisory Commission.
Senator Arch, you recognize open on the Health Committee confirmation report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On March 3rd, the Health and Human Services Committee held confirmation hearings for 4 appointees to the Rural Health Advisory Commission. The Rural Health Advisory Commission is a 13-member commission, and one of its important responsibilities is to award rural student loans and loan repayment to eligible healthcare professionals. Roger Wells is a reappointment to the commission, and he fills the position of the physician assistant on the commission. He's been a physician assistant in Central Nebraska since 1987, holds a physician assistant degree from UNMC. Mr. Wells practices at Lexington Regional Health Center. He's passionate about rural healthcare policy at the local, state, and national levels. At his confirmation hearing, Mr. Wells testified very knowledgeably about the healthcare challenges in the rural parts of our state, including challenges with EMS, nursing homes, OB care, mental health, and hospice. Mr. Wells is experienced and passionate about rural healthcare, and he's very qualified to continue serving on the commission. Rebecca Schroeder is also a reappointment, and she fills the position of a mental health representative on the Rural Health Advisory Commission. Dr. Schroeder earned her PhD in clinical psychology from the University of Nevada. She practices as a clinical psychologist primarily in North Platte, as well as at the Dawson County Jail. Dr. Schroeder has served as a mental health representative on the commission since 2003. She understands the importance of retaining and recruiting medical and behavioral health practitioners to our rural areas, and she's looking forward to continuing to address the rural healthcare workforce shortage on the commission. Sherilyn Hunt is the 3rd reappointment to the commission, and she fills the position of a rural nursing home administrator. Ms. Hunt has been a licensed nursing home administrator since 2008 and has served on the commission since 2018. At her confirmation hearing, Ms. Hunt testified that she enjoys serving on the commission and making a difference in rural communities by awarding scholarships to rural healthcare professionals. Ms. Hunt is qualified and passionate about rural healthcare, and she's willing to serve a 2nd term on the commission to continue this important work. Jeffrey Harrison. Dr. Harrison is a new appointment to the Rural Health Advisory Commission, and he will fill the position of the representative of the University of Nebraska Medical Center on the commission. Dr. Harrison is a physician with 26 years of experience as a faculty member at UNMC, where he has been focused on improving and increasing the healthcare workforce across Nebraska. Between 1998 and 2020, Dr. Harrison was the program director for the UNMC Nebraska Rural Training Tracks program, which is focused on training family medicine physicians in rural settings. Dr. Harrison's experience and commitment to rural health make him an outstanding appointee to the commission. All 4 of these appointments advanced unanimously from the Health and Human Service Committee, so I encourage your support for their confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Arch. Debate is now open on the confirmation report. Senator Hunt, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When I spoke last time, the vote hadn't yet been reported online, so I couldn't see it. What LB 1137 that 8 of you voted against said, it pertains to name, image, and likeness rights for student athletes. It says student athletes may be prohibited from entering into contracts or agreements or engaging in activity related to the use of student athletes' name, image, or likeness for products, services, entities, or activities reasonably deemed to be inconsistent with the educational mission of the post-secondary institution by such post-secondary institution. And further down it says, nothing in the Nebraska Student Athlete Name, Image, or Likeness Rights Act shall limit the ability of a post-secondary institution to establish and enforce standards, requirements, regulations, or obligations for such post-secondary institution students not inconsistent with the act. We worked on this bill over the past year, and I never liked it. I really didn't like this bill because I thought it had potentially some First Amendment issues. I'm not sure about the ethics of a school telling adults what they can and can't endorse with their own name, image, and likeness. And when we were debating the original bill, this was a common complaint, a common criticism from opponents of the original name, image, and likeness bill was that, how do we know they're not all going to be sponsored by Marlboro? How do we know they're not all going to be sponsored by Hooters and Planned Parenthood and Trojan and all of these different fears that of course have not come to be, but this was a stated concern of the opposition with the Name, Image, and Likeness Act. It also happened to be a concern of some of the Catholic universities and Catholic learning institutions that we have in this state. I took this bill and introduced this bill because I didn't want one of the senators that voted against this bill to introduce it and do something even crazier with it. By introducing this bill, I thought that that would help protect the First Amendment rights of the students more than if one of these ultra-conservative, morality police people had introduced it. Some of those people include those who voted nay on the bill, which was 8 people, which includes Senator Albright, Senator Bosselman, Senator Brewer, Senator Clements, Senator Erdman, Senator Geis, Senator Halloran, and the man who's never had a conversation with me, Senator Jacobson. 4 of you were present not voting, and I think that's okay because maybe you don't know what the bill does. But to vote no on the bill that says now a condom company's not going to sponsor the kids at Creighton University or whatever, that's what you just voted against. You thought you were voting against some bad LGBTQ bill or communist thing or something that I was bringing, but what you voted against was really your own interest this time. And every time you stand up and say, oh, it's never about the introducer. All I care about is the subject matter of the bill. I'm able to rise above and adhere to professional norms and just consider myself with the subject matter at hand. You are full of crap. And that vote proves it. And I like it when people reveal who they are. I like it when these things come out. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Hunt. Seeing no one else in the queue, Senator Arch, you're welcome to close on your committee report. Senator Arch waives closing. The question is the adoption of the report offered by the Health and Human Services Committee. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
37 ayes, no nays on the adoption of the report.
The report is adopted. Next item.
Mr. President, Health and Human Services report on Claire Bazada to the Nebraska Child Abuse Prevention Fund Board.
Senator Arch, you're welcome to open on the Health and Human Services Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. President. On March 3rd, the Health and Human Services Committee held a hearing on the appointment of Claire Bazada to the Child Abuse Prevention Fund Board. Ms. Bazada is a new appointment to the board, which is responsible for developing an annual state plan for the distribution of money in the Nebraska Child Abuse Prevention Fund. Ms. Bazada is an attorney in Cozad, where she practices juvenile law in 3 counties, in addition to family law and criminal defense. In 2020, she was named as the Fearless Children's Lawyer of the Month by the American Bar Association. Prior to law school, Ms. Bazada worked with families in the child welfare system through an internship with CASA of Lancaster County in a group home and as a child and family services specialist with DHHS. It was clear at her confirmation hearing that Ms. Bazada cares deeply about vulnerable children and families in Nebraska, and she's very experienced and qualified to serve on the Child Abuse Prevention Fund Board. Her appointment was advanced unanimously by the Health and Human Services Committee, so I encourage your support for her appointment. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Arch. Debate is now open on the Health and Human Services confirmation report. Seeing no one in the queue, Senator Arch. Senator Arch waives closing. The question is the adoption of the report offered by the Health and Human Services Committee. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
37 ayes, no nays on the adoption of the report.
The report is adopted. Mr. Clerk, next item.
Mr. President, Health and Human Services reports on Allison Miotri to the Stem Cell Research Advisory Committee.
Senator Arch, you're recognized to open on the confirmation report.
Thank you, Mr. President. On March 3rd, the Health and Human Services Committee held a hearing on the reappointment of Dr. Allison Moultrie to the Stem Cell Research Advisory Committee. The Stem Cell Research Advisory Committee is responsible for making grants to Nebraska institutions or researchers to conduct stem cell research that does not use human embryonic stem cells with funds from state tobacco settlement dollars. The committee includes the deans of Creighton University Medical School and UNMC, as well as 4 scientists from outside of Nebraska with experience in non-embryonic stem cell research. Dr. Moultrie is a professor in the Department of Pediatrics and Cellular and Molecular Medicine at the University of California, San Diego, where he is also the director of the stem cell program. Dr. Moultrie is an accomplished researcher and has made a number of significant contributions to his field, including helping to determine the causal link between Zika virus and congenital disabilities. He is highly qualified to fill this role, and his reappointment advanced unanimously from the Health and Human Services Committee, so I encourage your support to Dr. Moultrie's confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Arch. Is there any discussion on the report? Seeing none, Senator Arch, you're recognized to close. Senator Arch waives closing. The question is the adoption of the report offered by the Health and Human Services Committee. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
35 ayes, no nays on the adoption of the report.
The report is adopted. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next report from Health and Human Services is 2 appointments to the Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing.
Senator Arch, you're welcome to open on your committee report.
Thank you, Mr. President. On March 22nd, the Health and Human Services Committee held confirmation hearings for 2 appointments to the Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. This is a 9-member commission, including 3 deaf persons, 3 hard of hearing persons, and 3 persons who have an interest in and knowledge of deafness and hearing loss issues. Sandra Shaw is a reappointment to the Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, and she will continue to fill the role of one of the 3 interested persons on the Commission. Ms. Shaw has served on the Commission since 2019. She's employed by Seward County Aging Services, so she is tuned in to hard of hearing issues through that role. Additionally, Ms. Shaw testified that her family became engulfed in the deaf world when her husband lost his hearing in 2005. Ms. Shaw is knowledgeable regarding deaf and hard of hearing issues, and she is passionate about providing resources to make a difference in the lives of others with hearing issues. Brooke Fitzpatrick is a new appointment to the Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, and she will also fill one of the interested person roles on the Commission. Ms. Fitzpatrick is an active member of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing community, and as she has a young son who is deaf. She has a master's in public health from Creighton University, and she works as a community engagement coordinator at UNMC. Ms. Fitzpatrick has been involved in the legislative process, including the passage of LB 15 in 2019, which expanded coverage for hearing aids for children. Both of these appointments to the Commission for Deaf and Hard of Hearing advanced unanimously from the Health and Human Services Committee, so I encourage your support for their confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Arch. Is there any discussion on the report? Seeing none, Senator Arch, you're recognized to close on your report. Senator Arch waives closing. Colleagues, the question before us is the adoption of the report offered by the Health and Human Services Committee. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
33 ayes, no nays on the adoption of the report.
The report is adopted. Mr. Clerk, next item.
Next report is for 3 appointments to the State Board of Health.
Senator Arch, you're welcome to be recognized to open on the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. On March 22nd, the Health and Human Services Committee held confirmation hearings on 3 appointments to the State Board of Health. The Board of Health is a 17-member board, and it is responsible for promulgating rules and regulations governing the professions and occupations which are licensed, certified, registered, or permitted by DHHS. One of the board's most important roles is to facilitate the 407 credentialing review process. Dr. Douglas Bauer is a new appointment to the Board of Health, and he will fill the role of the osteopath on the board. Dr. Bauer currently works as a hospitalist at St. Elizabeth's in Lincoln, as well as the hospice director for CHI Health at Home and Hospice. He received his undergraduate degree from the Nebraska Wesleyan and his doctorate from Des Moines University College of Osteopathic Medicine. At his confirmation hearing, Dr. Bauer testified about his passion for ensuring Nebraska patients are getting the care they deserve, and that's the voice he'll bring to the Board of Health. Dr. Joshua Vest is a reappointment to the Board of Health, and he will continue to fill the role of the podiatrist on the board. Dr. Vest has served on the Board of Health since 2014. He has been practicing as a podiatrist in Lincoln for the last decade. At his confirmation hearing, Dr. Vest testified that what he enjoys about serving on the board is the 407 credentialing review process. As I mentioned earlier, that 407 process is a critical function of the Board of Health, so we're lucky that Dr. Vest is willing to lend his expertise and experience to continuing to serve in this role. Dr. Douglas Vanderbroek is also a reappointment to the Board of Health, and he will continue to serve as the chiropractic representative on the board. Dr. Vanderbroek has been practicing as a chiropractor in Lincoln since 1983, and he has served on the Board of Health since 2015. In addition to his private practice, Dr. Vanderbroek has volunteered for numerous causes, including providing chiropractic care in Haiti, volunteering for Clinic with a Heart, and working as a CASA volunteer. All three of these appointments to the Board of Health advanced from the Health and Human Services Committee with no dissenting votes, 6 affirmative votes, and 1 member not voting. This is a volunteer board, and it serves an important role to our state, so I encourage your support for this confirmation report.
Thank you, Senator Arch. Is there any discussion on the report? Seeing none, Senator Arch, you're welcome to close. Senator Arch waives closing. The question is the adoption of the report offered by the Health and Human Services Committee. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
33 yeas, 1 nay on the adoption of the report.
The report is adopted. Next item.
Mr. President, next up, report from the Health and Human Services Committee is 2 appointments to the Rural Health Advisory Commission.
Senator Arch, you're recognized to open on the confirmation report.
Thank you, Mr. President. On March 22nd, the Health and Human Services Committee held confirmation hearings on 2 appointments to the Rural Health Advisory Commission. Dr. Jeffrey Wallman is a new appointment to the Rural Health Advisory Commission, and he will fill the opening for a family practice resident on the commission. Dr. Wallman grew up on a farm in rural southeast Nebraska. He received his bachelor's degree from UNL, completed medical school at UNMC in 2021. Dr. Wallman is a family medicine resident in the Advanced Rural Training Program. He testified at his confirmation hearing that his interest in serving on the commission stems from seeing the healthcare workforce need in rural communities and his desire to show medical professionals how special rural healthcare can be. Dr. Michael Green is a reappointment to the Rural Health Advisory Commission. Dr. Green will continue to serve as the representative of Creighton University Medical School on the commission. He is the director of the Family Medicine Residency Program as well as the Rural Training Tracks at Creighton's Department of Family and Community Medicine. Dr. Green is passionate about keeping Nebraska competitive with other states when it comes to placing family doctors around the state, and that is his focus on the commission. Both of these appointments to the Rural Advisory Commission advanced unanimously from the Health and Human Services Committee, so I encourage your support for their confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Arch. Is there any discussion on the report? Seeing none, Senator Arch, you're welcome to close. Senator Arch waives closing. Colleagues, the question is the adoption of the report offered by the Health and Human Services Committee. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
41 ayes, no nays on the adoption of the report.
The report is adopted. Next item.
Mr. President, Health and Human Services would report on 1 appointment to the Commission for the Deaf of Hard of Hearing.
Senator Arch, you're welcome to open on your committee report.
Thank you. Last one. On April 11th, the Health and Human Services Committee held a confirmation hearing on the reappointment of Frances Beaurivage to the Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. Ms. Beaurivage has served on the commission for 3 years, and she would continue to fill the role of an interested person with sign language ability. Ms. Beaurivage has been serving the deaf and hard of hearing community for her whole career. In fact, I've known Ms. Beaurivage for over a decade through her work with Boys Town, where she managed the National Assessment for Sign Language Interpreters working in K-12 educational interpreting. She has extensive knowledge and experience with the deaf and hard of hearing community, and her appointment advanced unanimously from the committee, so I encourage your support for her confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Arch. Is there any discussion on the report? Seeing none, Senator Arch, you're welcome to close. Senator Arch waives closing. The question is the adoption of the report offered by the Health and Human Services Committee. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
37 ayes, no nays on the adoption of the report.
The report is adopted. Mr. Clerk, next item.
Mr. President, next report from the Nebraska Retirement Systems is an appointment to the Nebraska Investment Council.
Senator Coulterman, you're welcome to open on your confirmation report.
Thank you. The Nebraska Retirement Systems Committee held a confirmation hearing on March 30th for Richard DeFusco. This is a reappointment. Mr. DeFusco has served 18 years on the Nebraska Investment Council. The governor reappointed him to another 5-year term. The Nebraska Investment Council manages over $40 billion across 32 investment programs for the state, which includes over $23 billion in pension funds. Mr. DeFusco is a full professor of finance at UNL and has been on the faculty since 1985. He is currently the chair of the Department of Finance and was formerly the faculty director of the MBA program from 2014 through 2017. In 1999, the CFA Institute awarded him the designation of Chartered Financial Analyst. He will continue to bring real-world business and investment experience to the Nebraska Investment Council and is well qualified to make decisions regarding the investment of public funds. The Retirement Committee appreciates his long-term commitment and interest in serving on the Nebraska Investment Council and unanimously voted to move Mr. DeFusco's appointment to the full legislature for confirmation. The same day, we had an reappointment for the Nebraska Retirement Systems Committee held in confirmation hearing on March 30th for James Schultz, who has been reappointed by the governor to fill one of the public member seats on the Nebraska Public Employee Retirement Board. Mr. Schultz was originally appointed in 2017. This is a 5-year term. Mr. Schultz graduated from UNL with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with an emphasis in actuarial science. From 1972 to 1979, he worked for Bankers Life, now emeritus, in pension administration and actuarial science. From 1979 to 2010, he was with Midlands Financial Benefits as a licensed agent and registered representative, sales and service of insurance, employee investments, products. From 2010 until his present retirement in 2013, he was Senior Vice President of Retirement Plans at Emeritus. His background will continue to make him a valuable member of the Nebraska Public Employees Retirement Board, which oversees all the state retirement plans. The Retirement Committee unanimously voted to move Mr. Schultz's appointment to the full legislature for confirmation. I ask for your support in confirming both of these appointees to the Public Employees Retirement Board and the Nebraska Investment Council.
Thank you, Senator Coltman. We do have to handle these as 2 separate reports, so could you give us the name of the first individual, please?
Richard DeFusco.
Excuse me.
What?
Is there any discussion on the report for Richard DeFusco? Seeing none, Senator Coltman, you're recognized to close. Senator Coltman waives closing. The question is the adoption of the report offered by the Nebraska Retirement Systems Committee on Richard DeFusco. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
40 yeas, no nays on the adoption of the report, Mr. President.
The report is adopted. Chairman Coulterman, the name of the second report.
His name is James Schultz. He graduated from the University of Nebraska with a degree in actuarial science, and he was a classmate of Senator Clements. With that, I would move approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Coulterman. Discussion is now open on the appointment of James Schultz by the Nebraska Retirement Systems Committee. Senator Clements, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand in favor of Mr. Schultz. He reminded me that we were classmates in the actuarial courses at the university here back up till 1973. And I think he's had a wide variety of experience that well qualifies him for this position. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Clements. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Senator Coulterman, you recognize to close on your report for James Schultz to the Nebraska Retirement Systems Committee. Senator Coulterman waives closing. The question before us is the adoption of the report by the Nebraska Retirement Systems Committee on Mr. James Schultz. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
40 yeas, no nays on the adoption of the report.
The report is adopted. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, the Transportation Telecommunications Committee would report favorably on 4 appointments to the Public Roads Classification and Standard Board.
Senator Friesen, you're welcome to open on your committee's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. The TNT Committee held a public hearing on March 29th to consider the appointment of 4 individuals to the Board of Public Roads Classifications and Standards. The board is part of the Department of Transportation and oversees annual construction planning and fiscal reporting for state and local roads, as well as the application of minimum design, construction, and maintenance standards and function classifications of public roadways. All appointments are for a 4-year term. And the 4 individuals are Barbara Keegan, a reappointment representing the counties. Ms. Keegan is from Hemingford, has been the Box Butte County Highway Superintendent since 1994. She has served on the board since 2005. James Litchfield, a reappointment representing municipalities under 2,500 population. Mr. Litchfield is from Wakefield and has served as the Wakefield City Administrator, Public Works Director since 2003 and has worked in city government for 38 years. He has completed 2 terms of service on the board. Edward R. Wooten, a reappointment as a lay member representing the 1st Congressional District. Mr. Wooten lives in Bellevue, is retired with the career record of serving as the Sarpy County Highway Superintendent and Assistant Director at the Department of Transportation and as a Fleet Director for Sarpy County. He's been a member of the board since 2002. Brandy S. Neiman. Ms. Neiman is a new member of the board and will serve as the Nebraska Department of Transportation representative to the board. She has been employed by the department since 2002 and currently serves as a project development engineer. Ms. Neiman appeared in person before the committee and the reappointed members appeared via telephone. The committee voted to recommend the appointments without dissent, and I would ask the full legislature vote to confirm the appointments of these individuals. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Friesen. Is there any discussion on the report? Seeing none, Senator Friesen, you're recognized to close on your report. Senator Friesen waives closing. The question is the adoption of the report offered by the Transportation and Telecommunications Committee. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
37 ayes, no nays on the adoption of the report, Mr. President.
The report is adopted. Mr. Clerk, next item.
Mr. President, Transportation and Telecommunications would report on 2 appointments to the Motor Vehicle Industry Licensing Board.
Senator Friesen, you're welcome to open on your committee's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. If this is moving too fast, I could talk real slow. The TNT Committee held a public hearing on March 29 to consider the appointment of 2 individuals to the Nebraska Motor Vehicle Industry Licensing Board. The board is housed within the Department of Motor Vehicles and is the state agency that licenses and regulates motor vehicles, trailers, and motorcycle dealers, as well as manufacturers and distributors. The board also regulates wrecker, salvage dealers, and auto auctions. The board also serves as the agency that processes consumer complaints against licensed dealers. The committee heard and acted upon 2 appointments to the board. Each are being appointed to a 3-year term. Chad Tessman is from Henderson as the 1st District used car dealer representative. Mr. Tessman has been in the vehicle industry since 1999, been a used car dealer in York since 2011. He is a new appointee to the board and appeared before the committee for the hearing. Thomas R. McCaslin is a reappointment to the board and is a 3rd District new car dealer representative on the board. His business is located in Broken Bow, and he is a reappointment to the board serving his 2nd term. He participated in the hearing via telephone. The committee voted to recommend the appointments without dissent, and I would ask the full legislature vote to confirm the appointment of these individuals. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Friesen. Is there any discussion on the report? Seeing none, Senator Friesen, you're recognized to close on the report. Senator Friesen waives closing. The question is the adoption of the report offered by the Transportation and Telecommunications Committee. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
39 ayes, no nays on the adoption of the report.
The report is adopted. Mr. Clerk, next item.
Mr. President, the next report from General Affairs is 7 appointments to the Nebraska Arts Council.
Senator Breezy, you're welcome to open on your committee's reports.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon, colleagues. I rise today to present the committee report on 7 appointees to the Nebraska Arts Council. The General Affairs Committee held a hearing on April 5th. 2 individuals are new appointees. They would be Jana Goranson and Dr. Clark Roush. And 5 individuals are reappointments to the council. Alex Gorinsky, Ellen Hornaday, Amy Haddad, Sarah Peets, and Walter Seiler. Each of these individuals we feel are very qualified, and we feel confident they will fulfill their duties admirably. The committee advanced all 7 on an 8-0 vote, and I urge your green vote to confirm these appointments. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Breezy. Is there any discussion on the report? Seeing none, Senator Breezy, you're welcome to close. Senator Breezy waives closing. The question is the adoption of the report offered by the General Affairs Committee. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
37 ayes, no nays on the adoption of the report.
The report is adopted. Mr. Clerk, next item.
Mr. President, the next report from the Agriculture Committee is for an appointment to the Nebraska Brand Committee.
Senator Halloran, you're welcome to open on your committee's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, colleagues. On February 1st, the Agriculture Committee held a confirmation hearing on the reconfirmation of Terry Cohn to the Nebraska Brand Committee. The Agriculture Committee report recommends against the confirmation of reappointment of Terry Cohn to the Nebraska Brand Committee with a vote of 8-0 to recommend against confirmation of Mr. Cohn's reappointment. It is not a pleasant task to ask that the body vote to support the committee's recommendation to not confirm Mr. Cohn for a second term on the Brand Committee. There has unfortunately been a deterioration of trust in the leadership of the Brand Committee, and that trust was further undermined by a vote of the Brand Committee to close a meeting of the subcommittee of the Brand Committee formed to examine issues associated with implementation of e-inspection. Mr. Cohn voted to close the meetings of the group to the public and the press. There's also concern that the Brand Committee has until recently been working with a Mr. Rob Jennings of Cattle Proof to provide private services to support e-inspection functionality. There's considerable concern that Mr. Jennings has a history of questionable business dealings, having been both a plaintiff and a defendant in numerous business ventures, and there's justified concern that whether Mr. Jennings was a reliable source to do business with. Additionally, there has been information substantiating close personal and business relationships with Mr. Jennings, creating a potential conflict of interest for members of the Brand Committee and its staff. While I will end the opening here, I anticipate that there may be others that may speak in more detail about concerns with the Brand Committee and perhaps a need for a change of leadership. The committee voted 8-0 to recommend against confirmation of Mr. Cohn's reappointment. A yes vote to adopt the Agriculture Committee's report is agreement with the Ag Committee's recommendation not to confirm this appointment. I move adoption of the Ag Committee report. Please vote green. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Haldeman. Discussion is now open on the Ag Committee's report. Senator Erdman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Holland, for that explanation. Let me just, I want to be brief because I see, I think Senator Patty Pansing Brooks and Senator McCollister have already cleaned out their desk. So I think we're headed out the door. But let me just be clear on this, what happened. They had a subcommittee of the Brand Committee that was meeting to discuss how to implement electronic identification. They had the first meeting and they closed that to the public, and they closed that to anybody but just the Brand Committee subcommittee. And consequently, they're using and spending taxpayers' dollars or brand people's dollars, and it should be open to the public. There was nothing in that meeting that shouldn't have been transparent. So what happened is they had the first closed meeting, and then they were attempting to have another meeting, and they had a meeting of the Brand Committee. There are 5 members, and one of the Brand Committee board members made a motion to make the meetings open to the public. The motion got a second, and the motion failed 2-3, and Mr. Cohn was on the dissenting side. He was one of the 3 that decided to close the meeting. When we had a hearing, Senator Holler and the Ag Committee had a hearing with the Brand Committee, he asked them specifically, you've had closed meetings. Are you going to have other meetings? And the answer was yes. And then the question was, will they be closed? And the answer was yes. And so consequently, going forward from there, their credibility has decreased immensely with the brand people that use that service. And my concern is if we don't solve these issues with the Brand Committee, and we seem to be talking about it all the time, this will be an issue that will continue to come up. And so everything stops with the leadership, and the Brand Committee board is the leadership. And so I am asking you to vote to confirm the committee's report. And let me just read what the rules state so that you're clear on how you vote. If a report coming from the committee is to reject the appointment and the legislature fails to adopt the report by a majority vote of the elected members, then the appointment is hereby approved, provided, this is a key statement, provided that the member receives a majority vote in the negative. So if you vote yes, you're confirming what the committee decided, that he should not be reappointed. For him to be reappointed, he has to get 25 negative votes. So my encouragement to you is vote green. We are the last thing on the agenda today, and we can be out of here. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Erdman. Seeing no one else in the queue, Senator Halloran, you're recognized to close on the report.
Just to reiterate and re-clarify, we would ask you to support the committee's report. A green vote is what we request, and that would be confirmation of the Ag Committee's conclusion not to reconfirm Mr. Cohn. A green vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Halloran. The question is the adoption of the report offered by the Agricultural Committee. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
35 ayes, no nays on the adoption of the report.
The report is adopted. Mr. Clerk, next item.
Mr. President, resolutions. LR 271 was a resolution originally introduced by Senator Brewer, referred to the Government Committee for public hearing. The resolution was advanced back to the legislature for further consideration. It involves the naming of a building owned by the state and located at 1526 K Street.
Senator Brewer, you're recognized to open on LR 271.
Thank you, Mr. President. LR 271 is a resolution that was introduced to me by the Department of Administrative Services. It's the naming of two buildings. The first building is at 1526 K Street and First Avenue. The building is the home to 6 state agencies, and it will be recognized as the 1st Nebraska Volunteer Infantry Regiment. This regiment was made up of Nebraskans who fought in the Civil War, most famously at Fort Donelson and Shiloh. The second building at 521 South 14th Street becomes named the Chief Standing Bearer Justice Administrative Building. And this is fitting that that building should be named in his honor since it houses the judiciary branch. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Brewer. Discussion is now open on LR 271. Seeing no one in the queue, Senator Brewer, you're welcome to close. Senator Brewer waives closing. Colleagues, the question before us is the adoption of LR 271. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
34 ayes, no nays on the adoption of LR 271.
LR 271 is adopted. Mr. Clerk, next item.
284 is a resolution introduced by Senator Blood. It was referred to the Agriculture Committee for purposes of conducting a hearing, reported back to the legislature for further consideration. It encourages a supporting of an objective view of the product of USA label by the USDA and action to restrict the scope of use in a way that is beneficial for cattle producers and consumers.
Senator Blood, you're recognized to open on LR 284.
Thank you, Mr. President. Friends, as you just heard, the intent of LR 284 is to encourage the Nebraska Legislature to support an objective view of the product of USA label by the USDA and support any future actions to restrict the scope of use in a way that is beneficial for cattle producers and consumers and is trade compliant. American consumers rely on food labeling for truthful, meaningful information about retail food purchases. If a label says product of the USA, they assume that the meat they are placing in their grocery cart was actually raised here in the United States and not another country, as has been happening. The legislature should support initiatives to prevent misleading and deceptive practices that negatively affect United States cattle producers and drive down prices for the cattle producers while increasing the profits for the meatpacking industry. LR 284 is in support of these efforts. Multiple government entities agree that the USDA must provide a deeper review of the use of the label. President Biden issued an executive order on July 9th, 2021 that directed the USDA to consider new rules defining the conditions under which meat products can bear product of USA and other similar labels so that consumers have accurate, transparent labels that enable them to choose products originating in the United States. In July 2021, the FTC finalized a new rule cracking down on marketers who make false, unqualified claims that their products are made in the USA and specifically requires made in the USA claims on labels that can be used only for products that are all or virtually made or sourced in the United States. The review needs to reflect and support these new rules. Nebraska has the top 3 beef counties in the United States, including the nation's #1 cow county, Cherry County, with nearly 166,000 cows. Custer County is #2 at 100,000, and Holt County is #3 at 99,000. So it's an important part of our culture and economy. So we need to support initiatives that will prioritize better, more honest practices in the beef industry. This resolution has widespread support from the ag community, which includes the Nebraska Cattlemen, the Independent Cattlemen of Nebraska, the Nebraska Farmers Union, the Nebraska Pork Producers Association, the Nebraska Corn Growers Association, the Nebraska Farm Bureau, and the Nebraska Soybean Association. The resolution was voted out 7-0, with the 8th member of the committee being absent that day. Friends, please vote in support of ag and push green.
Thank you, Senator Blood. This debate is now open on LR 284. Seeing no one in the queue, Senator Blood, you're welcome to close on your LR 284. Senator Blood waives closing. Colleagues, the question before us is the adoption of LR 284. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
34 A's, no nays on the adoption of LR 284.
LR 284 is adopted. Mr. Clerk, next item.
335 was a resolution introduced by the Education Committee. Referred to that committee for purposes of conducting a public hearing, advanced to the legislature for further consideration. It involves and encourages post-secondary educational institutions to adopt the 70% attainment goal.
Senator Walls, as chairman of the Education Committee, you're welcome to open on LR 335.
Thank you, Mr. President. LR 335 was introduced by the Education Committee, advanced unanimously, and is supported by the Coordinating Commission for Post-Secondary Education, the university system, the state colleges, the community colleges, private colleges, the Department of Education, and the K-12 education groups. LR 335 establishes a statewide educational attainment goal for Nebraska, stating that at least 70% of 25 to 34-year-old Nebraskans have a degree, certificate, diploma, or other post-secondary or industry-recognized credential with economic value by 2030. As legislators, we are all aware that workforce shortages are the most common mentioned barriers to business development in Nebraska. Many of these jobs have been designated H3 jobs by the Department of Labor for high wage, skill, and demand. H3 occupations pay more than average, require at least a high school degree with extra training after graduation, and are projected to have a high number of openings in the next 10 years. A statewide educational attainment goal will help state leaders, K-12 school leaders, college and university officials, employers, and community representatives establish a shared education and training agenda and measure progress at regular intervals. It will foster accountability and the ability to measure the impact of policies, strategies, and funding. They measure what matters, the amount and quality of trained talent in our state. It will better prepare our state to meet workforce needs in the future. I ask you to join me in voting green to adopt this important amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Walls. Debate is now open on LR 335. Senator Erdman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was wondering if Senator Walls will yield to a question or two.
Senator Walls, will you yield?
Yeah.
Senator Walls, what is prohibiting them from doing the things that you're asking in this resolution now?
There's nothing really prohibiting them from doing that. I just think that putting together a resolution and having it signed and sealed by all of the education community really makes us more accountable to making sure that that gets done.
You could do that without a resolution, could you not?
I could, again, I think it makes us all more accountable.
So what happens if we don't do this?
We continue on, Senator Erdman.
It seems like we have an opportunity to do this whether we pass this resolution or not. It's like, for example, when I was Morrill County Commissioner, if somebody came and said, I move that we never have a Morrill County picnic. Now, we never had one before, and we'll never have one again. You can't make a negative motion. I don't understand why we need to pass a resolution to have education understand the need to cooperate. It's peculiar. Am I off on that?
No, I don't think it is peculiar. I think it was a great opportunity for us to come together as a community, as an education community, and stand together and say, this is what we want to see happen in Nebraska.
I think it's a great idea, but you don't need us to pass a resolution to do that.
That's your opinion, Senator
Thank
Erdman.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Erdman and Senator Walls. Seeing no one else in the queue, Senator Walls, you're recognized to close on your LR. Senator Walls waives closing. Colleagues, the question before us is the adoption of LR 335. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
32 ayes, 1 nay on the adoption of the resolution.
LR 335 is adopted. Mr. Clerk, next item.
Mr. President, LR 346, originally introduced by Senator Moorfeld and others, it asks the legislature to stand with the Ukrainian people in the defense of their sovereign nation, its democratic values, and the very lives of, and calls on Nebraskans to support the Ukrainian people.
Senator Moorfeld, you're recognized to open on LR 346.
Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. I want to thank the entire body for co-sponsoring this or co-signing it. And it's very, very straightforward. It's 4 lines. I'm just going to read them real quick, and then I will waive my closing because I know I'm the last thing between us getting out of here. Whereas on February 24, 2022, a massive military assault was launched by the Russian government on the sovereign democratic nation of Ukraine. And whereas the continuing assault has been met by strong resistance of the Ukrainian military, joined by armed civilians. And whereas the Russian attacks on non-military residential areas of Ukraine cities have forced the evacuation of millions of civilians to neighboring countries. And whereas the United States, along with other nations, have condemned the invasion and provided humanitarian and military aid. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the members of the 107th Legislature of Nebraska, second session, that the legislature stands with the Ukrainian people in defense of their sovereign nation, its democratic values, and their very lives, and calls on Nebraskans to support the Ukrainian people. I urge you to vote green on this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Moorfeld. Discussion is now open on LR 346. Seeing no one in the queue, Senator Moorfeld, you're welcome to close. Senator Moorfeld waives closing. Colleagues, the question before us is the adoption of LR 346. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Have you all voted? Record, Mr. Clerk.
37 ayes, no nays on adoption of the resolution.
LR 346 is adopted. Speaker Hilgers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, colleagues. I think we're about to adjourn. I wanted to give you a last update for our schedule for tomorrow. We're going to start at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, so we'll have a kickoff at 10. We do have a final reading. It is roughly a quarter or less of what we had today. Obviously, today we had quite a bit. We have far fewer final reading bills for tomorrow. We'll do that. For those outgoing senators, there's been some confusion as to when those remarks might occur. If you're an outgoing senator, that will be next week. You have the opportunity to go next week. We will have some remarks, though, tomorrow with some others. And so those are the two things that I anticipate doing tomorrow. So everyone have a good night, and we'll see you in the morning. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Speaker Hilgers. Mr. Clerk, for items.
Mr. President, bills read on final reading this afternoon were presented to the governor at 3:15. New resolutions 460 by Senator Stinner. That will be laid over. And 461 by Senator Vargas, also to be laid over. Senator Ben Hansen would move to adjourn until Wednesday morning, April 13 at 10 o'clock a.m.
Colleagues, you all heard the motion to adjourn till 10 o'clock tomorrow. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.